Good evening. Thank you so much, everyone that joined in. I truly appreciate your presence and everyone that's going to listen to this video. So tonight's class is going to be on the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha, laws of family purity, or they called it laws of Nida. So we're going to do an overview and a recap of what it means, what it symbolizes, and how it came about. So one of the things that as I was sitting and sorting my stuff here, I was thinking to myself, that's so interesting. Like everything I like to teach has to do with the three main mitzvot of the woman. The three main mitzvot that a woman has is the hadlakat nerot, the light Shabbat candle lighting, which with that, I like to associate the prayer of Eshet Chayil, the song that sang usually on the Friday night table that was written over 600 years ago by Shlomo HaMelech, which is a beautiful song, Woman of Valor, and it's so beautiful. So that's the candle lighting. I love the historical teaching of Taharat Hafrashat Challah, which is the mitzvah of bread, taking Hafrasha when you make bread also for Shabbat and also during the week, the mitzvah of Hafrasha. And then the third is the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha and going to the mikveh. So now, as I was putting my information together, I was like, oh my God, look, all the piles of papers I have has to do with that, because I really believe as the Jewish woman, when we are keeping the mitzvot of Hashem, we need to know where it's coming from, what the source is, and to be able to give it to our children with a source, that it's not just like a made up thing. What we keep today has a history of over 3,000 years of tradition and practices. So it makes it a lot more rich and deeper understanding of it. And another side note that I wanted to also add is that when I said that singles can also come and watch, because I believe the laws of Nida, it's kind of like, oh, wait till you're getting engaged. But in reality, we need to build this muscle of being able to practice the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha from the time a girl is 12 years old, from the time that she could probably start getting her period, to show her that a human being, a woman, is a manifestation of many amazing, wonderful things, and her body is holy and sanctified. And when she gets her period, Hashem gives her a time for her body to rest, and how these laws come also when you get married. And I tell the single girls that now you could practice the negia, the separation and the modesty. And when you get married, you could practice all of it. And one more thing I wanted to add today is I went to a store and this person was looking at me, and the person came over that had a very, very thick Arabic accent and asked me, where am I from? And the person said, I really like how you dress. I said, yes, I'm Iranian, Jewish Iranian. I was born in Iran and I'm Jewish. And the person said, your outfit really stood out. And I just wanted to come over and say my prayers are with you and we're praying for Israel. So I was thinking, this is what it means to be a representation of the Jewish nation, that with the mitzvot, with the practices that we keep, when we're going into a setting, people take us in with positivity and goodness, that even the clothing of modesty stands out in a positive way. We're never taught to do these mitzvot to think of us as less than. And I said to the person, I said, for us, when we cover our hair, it's part of the uniform of saying, now I am married. So when I cover my hair, I am identified as a married woman. And the single girls don't cover because they have not earned the status of being married. When you get married, that's how you wear the crown on your head, that you are married. Okay, with that, with bracha and hatzlacha, we're going into learning the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha. So this is about 14 questions, and you could comment below if you have questions. I made up these questions myself because sometimes after I would learn with the Kala, I just wanted to go over to make sure I got the information. So question number one is, how does a woman become Nida or Tam'eh? How does she become Tahor? And okay, so the question number one is, how does a woman become Nida? Nida is also the word without, and also Tam'eh means without. So one thing I want you to understand is that in the Persian culture, they would refer to the word tameh as najas, which means filthy and dirty, which has nothing to do with it. Simply what the word tameh or nida means, it means without. There was a soul and it's no longer there. So it means without. So whether it's a woman that's menstruating or a person that has passed away, at that stage, they're called tameh, because when a woman menstruates, that means she had an egg that ovulated 2 weeks ago that did not get turned into a pregnancy. So she is discharging this potential life. So she's tameh. So the word tameh means when you enter the stage of menstruation. So the word tahor is purity, but that doesn't mean that tameh means impure. So this is something I really think it's important for us to pay attention to. So next we go to how many days are the minimum that a woman has to count her nida. So the way a woman becomes nida, again, I said, is because she gets her period. It's discharge of blood. So also sometimes when there's blood discharge from the vaginal or uterus area, that can also make a woman nida. She needs to talk to her rabbi. And when a woman gives birth, so the discharge of the blood flow and the menstruation is what makes her nida. So now it says, how many days are the minimum for a woman to count for her the nida day? So according to Harav Ovadia Yosef, which is the big head Sephardi rabbi, you could count a minimum of 4 bleeding days, and then you have 7 clean days. Whereas with Ashkenazi European Jews, it is 5 bleeding days. And in the Jewish calendar, the day starts from sundown to sundown. So if the woman got her period on a Monday night, so Tuesday, it would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it starts, if it's Monday night, it's already rolling over to Tuesday as being day 1. What is the next step a woman has to do once her bleeding has stopped? So let's say she had her bleeding, she has her menstruation, she got her period. So one of the first steps that she has to do is she does her hefsek tahara, which is a special cloth that maybe I could just put it in a link below so you know how to count it, where she counts to make sure the discharge of blood has fully stopped. Because in order for you to count your 7 clear days, the blood discharge from the uterus has to stop. And it's very, very fascinating because exactly during the time that a woman gets her period and she's menstruating, her estrogen and progesterone drops, her mood is lower, she's feeling more sad, she's feeling more weak. And it's kind of like, this is the time, is almost like Shabbat, like God says, now is the time for your body to be at rest because of everything that you're going through. So it's just like this beautiful of going and coming out of the physical intimacy with the spouse. And then there's the emphasis of emotional intimacy where physical intimacy is not permitted. And it's so important to emphasize that if you're a single girl hoping to keep the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha, you need to work on strengthening your own emotional intelligence of connecting to another person, and make sure to date a guy that could do that. Because if the person is not emotionally in tune, they will be having a very hard time connecting with you when they cannot have any physical or intimate or sexual contact. So it takes a very high level of emotional maturity to work on keeping these mitzvot, because it's teaching you to strengthen both sides of your relationship, the physical intimacy and the emotional intimacy. Okay. So then we said that when the bleeding stops fully, the discharge, and also this we're going to go into later of what stop means. She uses the hefsek tahara during the checking that the discharge has stopped. She uses the cloth to make sure it has fully stopped. How many days does she count for her clean days? Total of 7 days. What does she need to do during these clean days? What time of the day, and what's the minimum requirement? So the 7 days after her period has stopped, she needs to do a checking with a Bedika cloth, which I will show you below what it looks like and how you could order it. Be'ezrat Hashem, if I forget and someone else watched the video, please make sure to comment and leave it below. So the minimum is you do 1 during the day and 1 in the afternoon before sundown. However, there is a leniency for those that have a difficult time doing the checking 2 days a week, that they will make adjustment for you. You need to speak to your rabbi and they will make the adjustment. But the most essential that you cannot forget It's the Hefsek Tahara, which is the first checking you do after your period has stopped, and then day number 1 and day number 7. Number 6, what day does she get to go to the mikveh? So she gets to go to the mikveh after she does the 7 clean days. So the day she started her Hefsek Tahara, meaning let's say she got her period Monday night, which would be Tuesday. So it would be, let's say she's Sephardi. So it would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday night, you can also go to the mikveh. There's just ways that you have to make the arrangement. So let's say on Friday, she does Hefsek Tahara. It's fine. She does the 7 clear days. The following week on Friday night, she gets to go to the mikveh, because when going to the mikveh, it makes her tahor to be able to be with her husband again. Number 7, what are the colors that are considered clean? So when you do the bedika cloth, the cloth of checking, so if the colors are red and dark brown, for sure it's not okay. You don't continue counting. But there are colors like more clear, yellowish, and things that you see on the cloth that is clear. And you have to consult with your local Taharat HaMishpacha rabbi to guide you, or the rebbetzin in your community to guide you and show you what colors mean what. What is a woman supposed to do when she has a questionable bedika? Call her rabbi or the rebbetzin that she's close to, or call the local synagogue in your community or the Chabad house, or find the mikveh and speak to the balanit. Explain some of the restrictions that takes place during the nida time. What are some actions that a couple has to refrain from? So this is something that So during this 7, as I said, the 4 bleeding days for Sephardim and the 7 clean days, you have to make sure that you refrain physically. But what it is that many people make a mistake that they understand. Just to let you know, guys, if you are turning your video on, I am hoping to upload it on YouTube. So if you're okay with that, leave it on. If you're not okay with it, you could log off. Thank you so much. Just sharing. So your choice, whoever wants, I'm okay with it. But I just wanted to let you know. So what do you do during this 12 days that you cannot be with each other physically? Like what are so it's very important for us to remember that during the time where you cannot be together physically, what you're trying to strengthen on is the emotional connection. So some of the restrictions are the husband and wife cannot sleep in the same bed, they cannot touch each other, they cannot share from the same food. It's like anything that brings closeness, you're supposed to refrain from, because right now, when you are during that stage, you're creating the connection of your friendship, achva, like, the companionship, the friendship of your relationship, not the romantic intimacy, but more like the companionship and the friendship part of your relationship. So again, no sleeping in the same bed, no physical touch, no intimacy, no sharing from the same plate, no intimate touch, no dancing, nothing that brings upon sensuality. But what you want to do is you are permitted to bring emotional closeness. So this time is the time of creating oneness on like a level of spirituality. And again, if you or your husband were brought up in a home where emotional intelligence and emotional connectivity was not important, these 2 weeks will be very challenging. So it's not the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha that's killing your marriage. It's your incapability and lack of emotional intelligence that's killing the relationship. Let me repeat that. It's not the laws of Nida. It's the lack of your connection to your emotional intelligence of how to relate to each other when the physicality is not there. So if people's only way of connecting is sexual and physical, they are handicapping their emotional connectivity. And when women also with intimacy and sexuality, it's a beautiful way of connecting, but a woman especially need that emotional connection. So to the guys that are watching this, if you are learning and growing spiritually, don't forget to also work on your emotional intelligence, to know how to relate and ask questions if you didn't see it growing up. And it's not enough that your father used to yell or hit your mother or break things or whatever it is, and now you're a Baal Tshuva and you don't do that anymore, but yet you check that emotionally. It's still not good enough. You need to learn how to emotionally be present to your wife and make a connection with her. So when the physical is not there, you bring in what? The emotional connection. This is like essential. So many relationships fall apart and they blame the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha, but for me, it's about where are you holding on your emotional intelligence spectrum? Do you know about your feelings? Do you know how to name your feelings? Do you know how to release your feelings without going into like kind of like unhealthy coping mechanism? If you don't, the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha is going to be very challenging. So you need to learn how to self-soothe, comfort, be present, be emotionally available. So during the 12 days that you cannot touch your wife, how are you going to be there? How are you going to show up for her? How are you going to feel connected? Or to your husband? How are you planning to do that? What steps are you planning to do that? But first, you need to learn to do that for yourself from within yourself. You know, I always tell people that Torah and Judaism is not one of those religion that advocates individual holiness to God and nothing else, right? That's not our religion. Our religion doesn't say, be so godly that you don't need a wife or a husband. Be so godly and go into the mountain and pray to me and that's all I want. No, no, no. God says, love me. Love me with all your heart, all your spirit, and all your might. However, it's about how you take it into action with your loving your fellow like yourself. And a perfect example that I always say, Yonatan ben Uziel was one of the 70 tzaddikim years, like I think it was like 800, 900 years ago, that he was so learned, so educated, knew Torah back and forth, that they said if any bird would fly over his head, it would get burned from the heat of the Torah that would come out. What happened when it came to him, time for him to pass and he didn't get married? Because he told everyone, I love God so much, I cannot, like my emotional intelligence, this is what I'm adding on to it, I cannot divide myself. I cannot share myself with God and the wife, so therefore I'm not going to get married. But what happens, look it up and research it, right before he dies, he says he regretted it. He regretted not getting married. And until this day, Amuka is known as a place that people go for shidduchim and daven for a match because Yonatan ben Uziel didn't get married. And he regretted it. And how is he doing tikkun for that regret? To daven for everyone else that's not married to get married. So if it was the right thing to do, why don't we show that off? Why don't we say, be like, right? All the Gadolim that we have were married. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yosef, Moshe, David HaMelech, everyone that we know had a wife, had a relationship, had a family. So our religion is very pro family and creating, like having pururvu, having children. The family system is essential, but doing it right? It's not about just becoming an isolated individual religious person. It's not just about hiding behind religion and not creating the emotional connection. That's not what the Torah says. The Torah says you got to do it right with your feelings, with your emotions. When a man stands under the chuppah and tells his wife, Hare at mekudeshet li, from now on, you are holy and sanctified for me. So the right thing is saying that I'm going to cherish you, appreciate you, admire you. And also I heard somewhere very beautifully that the breaking of the glass is not to only remember the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, and also to remind you of the fragility of a relationship. That once it's broken, once you step on it, it's much harder to bring it back together. So this is teaching us the importance of strengthening that part of our relationship, that we are here to build each other in both ways, not just physical, but physical and emotional. So number 10, it says, what is this time supposed to do for a couple, and what are some things that are permitted during this time? If you could please make sure to mute yourself. And also I was saying that this will be uploaded on YouTube. So if you don't want to have your face shown, make sure to keep your camera off. If you wish to be shown, I'm fine with it. You could show yourself. So what is this time supposed to do for you? What are these times of like the 12 days supposed to do for you? So it's supposed to build your emotional connectivity and strengthen your relationship. So what are some things that a couple can do? Because we always hear about the things you cannot do. Don't do this, don't do that, like don't sit on each other's bed, don't drink from the same cup, don't, right? But we need to also give some resources and options of what can you do. So one of it is take a walk together. Obviously, you cannot hold hand and close by, but you keep telling yourself, I am building the friendship of part of my marriage. This is and Jordan Peterson is like this amazing motivational speaker. He says the minimum for a relationship not to fall apart is 90 minutes of emotional attention to each other per week. 90 minutes. It's like an hour and a half divided up. So it's so important. If you do not pay attention and invest time in your relationship, it will dry up and fall apart. Like, I can't emphasize enough. Like, it's not something that you just do and get married. You don't just find the right person and it just maintains itself. It does not work like that. It's not sourdough. Marriage is not sourdough. Marriage is like dough. Like, you need to constantly work on it to get a good tasty bread, to get a good relationship. You need to constantly work on it in different level. You could go to a museum, learn a book together, work on a puzzle together. You could go bowling, gardening if you like, play a board game, play a game of chess, or learn a new language together. Go to a shiur together, work on a project together. And then this is even if you're single and you're watching this video, you could put this on your, like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, work on having hobbies and creative ways to entertain yourself. So when you get married, you could elaborate on that with your partner, especially if you both enjoy it, it's even nice. Arrange lunch dates. Sometimes dinner date could be very romantic for people. So during the nida time, you could arrange for lunch dates. What's really nice that I heard some couple do is that from the beginning of their marriage, they like schedule in a meeting. So it's like every Tuesday at 10 o'clock or like every Thursday at 7 p.m. That's our date time. And if it needs to change, we reschedule it. So it's like machmir. They're very, very strict on it. I always joke with people and I say to them, I could guarantee you that the date time you arrange for during the week, and for those of you that's possible for and you can make it happen and husband and wife are on board, like once even every 2-3 months, especially after you have kids to go away to a hotel somewhere to just strengthen your relationship, will still be far more cheaper than weekly therapy session. Weekly therapy session with a good quality therapist, it's anywhere from $150 to $300 per 50 minutes. Every session a week is $150 to $300 a week, right? A nice dinner, a nice outing, or sometimes even a walk around the block once a week, right? And going away maybe once every 2 months or every 3 months will still not add up to that $200 a week. Trust me. So when you're able to invest and tell your partner, this is something that's essential and important, we should make this happen. I said to myself one day, I'm going to make this thing called the marriage insurance and like make people sign and like work on that, because you need to be reminded or else you forget. So when you're able to do that, put that in place, it will bring you back from that robotic stage and will help you to build your relationship on a strong foundation instead of just it being robotic. So now if you have any questions, you can also text it in the messaging part of the Zoom and I can try to answer it. So what are some steps the woman has to make to prepare for going to the mikveh? So once everything was clear, she counts her 7 clean days, and now it's the following week that she's going to be going to the mikveh. She needs to take a shower and do her preparation. Ashkenazis believe that it's good to take a bath, like a half an hour bath, but Sephardim are not as strict, are not machmir that it has to be a shower, it has to be a bath, that you have to sit in a bath. Again, speak to your local rabbi to find out where you're holding, discuss it with the local rabbi. So then she gets prepared for the mikveh and she goes to the mikveh. When you are going to your mikveh, it is not a time to tell all your friends and family or your mother or anyone. The mikveh is a very private time and it's about you and your husband. You do not need to let anyone else know because it's a very sanctified state. Again, when you're already walking to the mikveh, and you're sitting in the lobby of the mikveh, you're not like forbidden to say hello, like, or hi. You know, some people are more machmir, they might not make conversations, not take it personally, but you guys are already all there together. So it's not like hiding it. But again, some people are strict. They want to keep the zone and the mindset that they might not conversate and be themselves. It's just they're keeping the zone and, you know, being in that mode for themselves. Every woman is different. So when can she go to the mikveh and what time? And what time can a bride go to the mikveh? The woman, a regular married woman, can only go to the mikveh after sundown, but a bride can also go during the daytime. So only a bride can go during the day before sundown, but married women have to go after sundown. Permitted. Okay, so again, and then the next question is the woman permitted to share with others when she's going to the mikveh? Absolutely not. Again, if you live in a place where you're stuck and you don't have a babysitter, and I mean, it's not like Avera, I feel like happens, but it's not. It's just, it's better not to tell anyone, but you say I have a meeting, you know, I have somewhere to go, because it's supposed to be private. That's the most important one. And then they also, people have a custom, some, that when the woman gets her period, she tells her husband, I'm tameh. And when she goes to the mikveh, she either says tavalti, like I went to the mikveh, or she says I'm tahor now. So she announces herself that she's tameh or tahor. Now, what are the onot and how do you calculate that? So some women, so let's say some women, their periods are fluctuate. They're not the same time all the time. So those women have, there's the following month, you have a day that you are anticipating your period. So during the time that you're anticipating your the period, like the night that it's supposed to come, it's also taught that you're supposed to not have intimacy. Again, you consult with your rabbi, decide what works for you. But some women that their periods are on different days, they have to figure out an interval to keep. And some that are very exact, so they do every 28 day on their calendar. And some also keep the Hebrew calendar day. So if they got it on like this 4th of Tishrei, they will keep it the following week on the Tishrei Cheshvan, the following month on Cheshvan. And also another thing that's really, really good, even for single girls as they're single, to like keep a calendar for themselves, because all it does, it helps you to get in tune with your body. So you get more comfortable knowing when your period is coming. And I always tell people that when you know when your period is coming, it could give you a big awareness of where you're holding emotionally, what's going on for you. So like putting it as a reminder, as a calendar, like if you don't want to say period coming, you say like estrogen dropping or whatever else, however else you want to call it for a woman. And also a lot of men are not educated about this. Women don't have mood swings. They have mood fluctuation based on the chemicals in their body, which is an actual thing. When your estrogen and progesterone drops, your mood goes down, your serotonin goes down, dopamine goes down, you're weaker, you're more sad. So what I like to compare it to is that a woman's menstruation cycle is like the season of the year. I made this up. I don't have any sources for it. It's just from my own thought that Hashem gave me. And I'm really into trees because I feel like tree gives us a big lesson. And the other day I was learning with a friend of mine, I think she's also logged on, that I was saying like in Tehillim, one of the things it tells us is like, don't be like a tree that be like a tree that doesn't wither. Like, you know, in the first parak of Tehillim. So the tree is a perfect example for us, for men, women, for everyone to understand what this menstruation is. When a woman is in the beginning stage of her ovulation, right, which is the mikveh night, she is at her highest peak. She's in the spring, you know, her tree looks strong, looks confident. It has leaves that are about to come out. It's as strong as can be. And then the second week is summer, you know, again, she's got it together. She's with it. She's able to do it. If you have any discussions or arguments, things you want to resolve, do it the first, you know, like a few days after her ovulation, because that's when she's at her peak. She has her strength. She's capable. She's strong. That's the best time, right? Then comes the third week, right? It's the anticipation of the period coming. So when it's the anticipation of the period coming, the estrogen is starting to go down. So what is that? That's like the fall, you know? What do the leaves look like on fall? Yellow, red. The tree starting to look weaker. It's not like how it used to. There's leaves all over the floor. Things don't look the way like it's supposed to. So then she gets her period during the fall time. And then she has that 2 weeks of autumn, fall, like autumn time, and winter. Oh my goodness. During the winter, you do not get on her case because she's as weak, as low as can be. So when you better understand your own seasonal going on with your menstruation, you will have a better understanding. And these halachot were given to us in the Torah, you know, in the book, in the Torah. From the Torah, it says forbidden relationships, and Nida is one of them. Hashem comes and says, listen to me, my Bat Israel, my queen, my daughter is not there to be with you physically or sexually. Right now, it's a time for her to rest because her body is going through the time of mourning because she had a potential egg that was discharged and now her body needs to rest. So this has nothing, I want to clarify, this has nothing to do with dirty or not dirty, this or that. All it has to do is mindfulness, that a woman is made out of many parts. A woman is not there only for like the intimacy and sexuality. A woman has a lot of parts to her, and God believes that our bodies is more than just that. And that's why even the word intimacy in the Torah is yidiyah, and Adam yidiyah et Chava, and she got pregnant. The word yidiyah comes from the word knowledge, right? What did Adam eat from? What did Chava eat from? Et hada'at, right? Et hada'at. And then they looked down and they realized they were naked. Wait a minute. They're named the same? Et hada'at and yediyah. So what it's teaching us that the minute they ate from that tree, that sensuality, morality was taken. Now there was shame associated to it. So in order for us to do a tikkun and bring the mysticism back, it's about working on building our emotional, spiritual intelligence to reach that level. And then that's how you become basar echad. When you're able to have this connectivity spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. That's why even emotional intimacy is much harder than physical intimacy. Physical intimacy, procreation is something anyone can do, even in the animal kingdom. But humans are the only species that most to the intimacy through the eye contact of the oneness because of the koach, the power that it has. But if you're not able to connect with that emotional, deeper side of yourself, to be able to connect with your partner, it makes it much harder. In Judaism, intimacy is not an act. It's not an it. It's not a do. It's a whole unionship. It's a whole sanctity. It's the whole coming together with lots of kedusha, which is so beautiful. And what it's teaching us is when the nida comes, when you're stopping and going back, you're trying to create this sanctifying part of your relationship that's based on a much higher level. So that's one of the main things that the laws of nida is teaching us, is that our relationship needs to build itself up on a higher emotional intelligence and not just on a lower physical part. And so that as the kids get older, as the children grow, that you do have a connection. You have things, you know, a lot of secular people don't even know how bad their relationship is because there is no time to let's think this through. There is no coming up, getting some air and then swimming again, right? When does it hit them, the midlife crisis? When the kids leave the house at 45, 50, and it's like, where am I? What am I doing? Who am I? Who are you? Where were you? What are we holding? So if you do not make an investment to create that connection in your relationship, you are living, you're sharing space together, but your paths are not always going the same way. So thank you so much for listening in. I'm going to stop the recording now, and if you want to ask some questions before we log off. God willing, we're hoping to have a part 2 of this, and also during these 8 weeks of Shovavim, they say it's a very, very holy time for men to learn about Zara Lavatala, not wasting semen, and women to emphasize and work on learning better the laws of Shomer Negia and Taharat HaMishpacha. Thank you so much for tuning in, and may our learning be for peace, harmony for Eretz Israel, and all the Cholei Israel to get well and healthy, and all the singles find their shidduch, and all the married ones be able to build a relationship full of goodness, shalom, respect, and ahava. Okay.